Welcome back to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
We welcome you back to Talk of the Town for this Tuesday, July 6th. I'm Gary Stevens. The first Tuesday of the month, we say it's Feel the Zeal Tuesday. We spotlight the City of Zeeland with the Master Gardener, Jan Musin from the Bryan Seed, joining us for the Yard and Garden Hour from 10 to 11. And a little after 9:30, we normally chat with Zeeland Mayor Kevin Kleinstra, but he is on holiday. So ably replacing him for this morning, but we are very pleased whenever he joins us, is the longtime city manager of the City of Zeeland, Tim Klunder. He joins us via the Zoom connection from City Hall. Tim, good morning and welcome back to WHTC.
Good morning, Gary. I'm glad you're very kind in saying ably. I will try and fill in for the mayor the best I can. So he's on a well-deserved vacation.
City Manager Tim Klunder is the operating officer for the City of Zeeland. He has been at his post 19 years since coming over from Algonac. So he has a good feel for what is going on in Zeeland. And if you have a question about the City of Zeeland, he'll be happy to answer it at 616-395-1450, 616-395-1450. My first question to you is maybe more in line for Abby DeRue, who has been the longtime events coordinator for the City of Zeeland, came up with the Feel the Zeal promotion has been very successful for the city. But as we get past the July 4th Independence Day weekend and start moving into the summer months, things are starting to heat up, no pun intended, in the City of Zeeland with some of the activities that are going on in the city. And glad to have some of those activities coming back. Tell us a little bit about what might be coming up over the next 6 to 8 weeks or so.
Yeah, well, actually this week we have a full week. So tonight we'll start our Sounds of Summer concert series. That will be every Tuesday now through the month of July. That's over at Lawrence Park in the Bowl. And so that kicks off tonight. Tomorrow night we have a Cycling in the City event. So that is in the evening. Again, that starts in our downtown area. And then as the name suggests, you will cycle on a guided tour throughout the community, actually. Thursday night, we have a return for our Music on Main. That is actually a new event that we started this year, and it's kind of in conjunction with the social district that we have started in our downtown area. And so we've had a couple of Thursday evening, I wouldn't say they're pop-up music events because clearly Abby and Carrie do a nice job of marketing the event, but that will be Thursday. And then we're really excited with the return of the sidewalk sales and car show this weekend. So none of us can forget how last year disrupted pretty much everything. But we're really happy to see those various events come back around. Saturday, we'll have the farmers market in the Elm Street Park. So yeah, this week is very full. And then we'll have a recycling again of some of those events coming up. We'll have the Chalk Fest again in August. Just a good return to events in our downtown and throughout the community.
That car show and music weekend over in Zeeland has been a staple for many, many years, and I've had a chance to be at that. And certainly a lot of aficionados come in. I know that there'll be some sad faces. Be the first one that no Ed Verskura with us anymore, and of course he was a staple for many years with those car shows as well. One other thing too, and I want to touch upon this, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier with the music on Thursday night. It ties in with the social district. What are the early returns of the social district among the retailers that are participating in that, Tim?
Well, I can speak more specifically to the restaurants. So Public and Triple Root would be our two businesses right now in the downtown area with liquor license. And they've been very upbeat of what that has done for their business, especially on those Thursday night music events. It's worked really well. It's just a nice opportunity for folks to come down with their family or friends, sit outside, enjoy some music. If they choose to have an adult beverage, they may do so. They can kind of walk around downtown, look at some of the retailers that we have as well. So, and happily, which quite honestly, we weren't too concerned about. We have not had any issues with the social district. People have been very respectful. And it's just another compliment to, again, what we're trying to create as far as some energy and atmosphere in the downtown area. So, yeah, it's really worked out well so far.
Fresh in my mind for a moment, Tim, did the city council put the social district as an experimental thing, or has it become permanent? Is it still a case of let's see how this one goes and then we'll see we move forward?
No, we actually did it permanent. Now, when I say that, I believe, and forgive me if I believe I have the date correct, that there's actually a sunset in the state law of 2024, I believe. Again, from all indications of what you hear, the success of social districts have been for downtowns throughout the state. I would think, as we approach that time frame, the state might extend it and make it a permanent enabling act within the state of Michigan. But no, the city itself, City of Zeeland, more directly to your question, this is not a 6-month trial or anything like that. We're in it, and we will continue to have it as long as the state allows. And we took that route simply from the standpoint of the city council. If we would run into some issue where this did become a problem, we don't foresee it, we have not experienced it, but they can actually disband a social district at any time, just subject to a public hearing. So we felt they had that power already, and so we didn't feel there was a need to do it on a trial basis, as you would say.
The reason why I mentioned trials, that another community along the lakeshore, Saugatuck, did it as a trial basis in the early spring area. They're going to think about might reinstitute it again in the fall. So they took it as a trial, and so that's why I wanted to sort of clarify that in my mind, and probably for some of our listeners as well. 616. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, and I actually had some discussions with the Saugatuck city manager around why they did it that way when we were looking at ours. And for their community, quite honestly, it made sense. So, we're all just a little bit different, and you look at it from your own community's perspective. And so, again, from our perspective, we didn't feel like we had to do that trial basis.
616-395-1450, 616-395-1450. If you have a question for Zeeland City Manager Tim Klunder. One other thing dealing with downtown. Last year, if I recall, and freshen my mind on this, or correct me if I'm wrong, the city council approved a plan to allow businesses in downtown during the summer months to block some of the parking spots, especially on Main, but maybe some of the other parking spots to accommodate outdoor dining for the most part, but also maybe some outdoor retail opportunities. Is that still a go for this year? And is that something that might be considered on a regular basis during the warmer weather months, or was what happened last year just a one-off because of the pandemic?
So we did extend that for this year, which is actually, it worked well. It really set us up for the social district as well. So we have blocked off a number of spaces for public seating area out in front of Triple Root. That's where we ended up doing it, which worked out good because we're doing some construction next to their building. And so they lost their patio and things of that nature. But Le Carême restaurant, also the sidewalk in front of their building isn't extremely wide. So they have blocked off some spots as well. Our retailers have not found a need where they had to block off spaces at this point in time. And some of them wanted to retain the parking, quite honestly, as well. So yeah, we did extend it this year. I would say long term, we are always looking for ways to enhance the business opportunities for our merchants in the downtown area. So quite honestly, if they would approach us and say, this has really worked well, I'm sure we would do that. We have actually, for a long time, we have had license agreements where we do allow restaurants in any business actually downtown to occupy portions of the sidewalk. Really what we added last year was the ability to block off parking spaces. So again, if that's something that they would approach us and say it's really been for their benefit, my guess is we would look at further extending it in future years.
And possibly make some sort of permanent, I've seen this, I'm talking with Saugatuck people in the past where they have shown some artist renderings of how it was made. I wouldn't say permanent, but they had decorative ideas about setting apart, not just just have the fencing, make it really sort of an enticing area and make it sort of a place that people wanted to go. And I'm not certain whether or not it would be the way Zeeland would do that or not, but it did look good with those renderings I did see.
Yeah. Again, I think, all of us, what we're trying to create is that energy and that atmosphere downtown. So, and there's a balance, don't get me wrong. I mean, you still need to provide some of that prime parking spaces within the core of your downtown. But when you have that ability to see other people outside eating or browsing, whether it's clothes or other type of merchandise, it creates an energy and atmosphere that makes you want to be a part of it. So that's the balance we're always trying to strike. And not only Zeeland, again, every downtown is really trying to do that.
616-395-1450, 616-395-1450. If you have a question for Zeeland City Manager Tim Klunder. Normally, Zeeland has bi-weekly meetings on Monday nights, but because of the legal holiday yesterday, the bi-weekly meeting is set for 7 o'clock tonight in Chambers, second floor of Zeeland City Hall. And there will be a public hearing involved with establishing a commercial rehabilitation district. Tim, tell us all about this. Could you please?
Yeah, well, thanks for teeing that up, because somewhere along the line, I wanted to make sure we touched upon that. So we're really excited about the project that's on the horizon for what most people know as the Sly Building, which is directly across from Cityside Middle School. I can tell you, and thanks for reminding me, I've almost been here 20 years. I can't hardly believe that. But I can tell you that building has probably generated the most questions of anything that I've ever been involved with in the city of Zeeland is, when's that building going to, get rehabbed? And so that's been a primary goal of the city in our strategic action plan for at least 15 years, I would suggest. And it appears that's coming to fruition. So GDK, most people are very familiar with GDK and the work that they've done, not only in Holland, but again, throughout portions of the state. They do fantastic work. They have purchased that building. They're looking to convert the majority of it into apartments. There might be some commercial component of it as well. And one of the incentives that redevelopers can get on these older urban industrial type buildings is through a commercial rehab district. So essentially what that will do is it will, if they would get the district and then subsequently get a certificate, which would be a subsequent public hearing, what it does is essentially freezes the taxable value of the project pre them making all the improvements. And that can be up for 10 years. And, when you're looking at rehabbing an old industrial building, those costs can be significant. And in some cases, cost prohibitive. And that's something we've really kind of struggled with the rehabbing of that Sly building, or at least potential developers have been. So GDK has a good plan, but this tax incentive certainly is a big part of that. And so we're excited to at least consider the first step tonight, which would be establishing the district around the parcels they own. And then again, subsequently, when they're ready to start the reconstruction of it, then they would apply for the actual certificate.
Now, it brings up the age-old dilemma for municipal leaders. Yes, you want to try to stimulate business activity. You want to stimulate growth in your community, stimulate development, but it comes at a price because you'll be raising the taxable value. Taxes that would be paid by the developer and subsequently those who would be using the site that could help defray costs that every municipality does have. It's a fine line about trying to make sure you can bring incentives without really hurting the community in whole. And Tim, you know as well as I do, that line, sometimes people don't like it because, they're not paying their quote unquote fair share on this thing.
Yeah, and it is a fine line, I can tell you. We have those thoughtful discussions with every abatement that comes before. Our city council has a tax incentive committee, and so they look at those things. I would say we point to our industrial area as a means of showing that it has worked well in the City of Zeeland. So for years, the city has granted industrial tax abatements, and that's been used for great success in expanding the industries within our community. But part of that was always some of the pushback we would get is, boy, that would be nice if we had that for commercial businesses in our downtown. Well, the state did set up commercial. There's a couple of different acts. There's the rehab and the redevelopment. They work fairly similar, but there's just a little bit of differences on which one you use, whether you're redeveloping a building and if there's apartments involved and things of that nature. But since those have come out, we have used those for great success now in our downtown sector as well. And so we've seen some new buildings go up. Like a generational wealth building, but we've also seen, a number of buildings utilize that tax incentive to redo apartments on the second floor. And so again, this is just in line with what we've used for great success in our downtown is seeing some of our older structures getting rehabbed. So,
Tim, let me bring up another point that's in tonight's agenda. Which can be accessed through cityofzeeland.com, and there's a link to it through there. That is a traffic light controller bid. Is this a company that's going to come in to run the lights, or is this going to be somebody that's going to be the last word on making sure traffic lights are coordinated, are calibrated just right, or what exactly is this, Tim?
Yeah, this is actually to get a replacement for our traffic control light at Fairview and Washington Avenue. So I want to say it was maybe a couple weeks ago when we had that pretty good lightning show on a Friday morning in some pretty heavy rain as well. But our traffic light controller at Washington and State actually took an electrical hit or surge. I'm not sure if we're exactly sure, but what it did is knocked out that controller. So for that entire weekend, folks might have been coming through and, well, why is this flashing red? That was the reason. So we got through it. But in the meantime, Scott Nienhardt, our street supervisor, for several more months yet, and then he's going to go into a well-deserved retirement, said, well, I better check some of our other signals, just see if they fared okay. And thankfully, he caught that the one at Washington and Fairview didn't look in real good shape. That's a busy intersection, of course, is one of the main entrances into our industrial area. And so really saw it as an emergency repair, quite honestly. So worked with one of our vendors that does a good deal of the work in the City of Zeeland so that we can get that replaced much sooner than later, so that we don't go through a similar situation of having to change it to a four-way temporary stop for several days. Hopefully they can get in, do it within a day period, and have as little disruption to everybody as possible. So
Yeah, and I do sometimes take Washington Avenue going into or coming out of Holland, heading back toward the other side of the county. And I've noticed, the Washington Fairview light now is not flashing anymore. It's working, 24/7. Same with the light over on Washington State. And I figured, well, what's going on? Maybe they're trying to slow people down. Well,
yeah. And actually, on the just by pure coincidence, along traffic lights, though, the other part that's on our agenda tonight is Opticom, extension of an Opticom system. Folks might just be interested in that. So we've had it on State Street. Actually, the state and the business loop for many years extended it up State Street last year. What that does is there's a receiver in our fire truck. So as they're approaching those signals, it will give a green light to our public safety vehicles. It obviously doesn't switch immediately, but the signal's out far enough so it will stop the traffic on the other cross streets so that they can get a good response time. And so we're going to extend that to some of our other areas that have traffic signals. So again, it would be the Washington, the Fairview traffic signal. Up on Roosevelt State. And then what we're also doing is buying some receivers that we will put into our police vehicles as well. So ultimately it could be extended into our snowplows if we had a desire for something of that nature. But that will be on City Council's agenda tonight to further expand that system. It's worked really well, and it's good for everyone, right? From the standpoint of obviously the men and women that are serving in our public safety, so they can go through those intersections in a safer manner, but also the public that's approaching those intersections on cross streets. It's safer for them too.
City Manager Tim Klunder for the City of Zeeland. I want to thank you very much for joining us today on WHTC's Talk of the Town. Thank you for accepting our invitation when Mayor Kleinstra could not join us. We look forward to chatting with you again soon. Thank you, sir.
Always a pleasure, Gary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tim Klunder, the City Manager of Zeeland on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.